So we are closing in on the end of the 2021-2022 NFL season, culminating in Super Bowl 56. Rams, Bengals should be a fantastic football game. Tons of storylines. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can today. Plus, all the coaching vacancies are finally filled. We'll talk about the guys that finally closed off and ended the coaching carousel. 9 vacancies in all. I think that's the most we've seen in the last 5 to 7 years. Generally, you don't get that many openings in one off season. You're talking about over 1/4 of the league swapping out their head coaches. So we'll put a bow on that, and we'll get to any comments that you guys may have out there. You're locked into the 237th installment of the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by the Card Collector Series. Join me, your man, Louie T, on my journey back into the card collecting space with the Card Collector Series on YouTube. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 237th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Today's going to be an in and out podcast. Get in, get out, and get on with our lives. So won't waste a lot of your time. We're going to get straight to the proceedings this evening, which means let's get into the gem dropping session. Shall we? I think we shall. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So all of the head coaching vacancies have been filled. And just to recap, let's go over the ones that were filled previous to the last 72 hours. And then we'll go over the ones that have closed out this head coaching cycle. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, we talked about this, I want to say on the last podcast episode, hired Doug Peterson, former Super Bowl winning head coach with the Philadelphia Eagles, to come in and resurrect what was an anemic Jacksonville Jaguars offense last year. And really, his job is to get the most out of Trevor Lawrence, to take that number 1 overall pick and get the most out of him and have him reach his full potential. Love the move. Love what Doug Peterson was able to do for Carson Wentz. And so we'll see if he can do the same for Trevor Lawrence. The Raiders hired Josh McDaniels. I'm not a Josh McDaniels fan. I think he is overrated, but we'll find out what he is as a head coach. The first time it didn't go well, but just because it doesn't work out the first time doesn't mean the second time won't be the charm for him. So we'll see what happens in Vegas. I think what the importance of him getting that job means and signifies is that Derek Carr won't be available this offseason. That was a name that was circulating among fans of teams that needed a quarterback that was looking to upgrade their position. Derek Carr, I don't think, is available now with Josh McDaniels getting that job. I think he is looking forward to working with a veteran like Derek Carr, and so I think he's staying put in Vegas. The Denver Broncos hired Nathaniel Hackett, former offensive coordinator of the Jaguars and most recently the Green Bay Packers. He is now the head man in Denver, charged with breathing life into what has been a lifeless Denver Broncos offense for quite some time. The defense has been up to par, but unfortunately, the offense has not met them halfway. So I don't know what they're going to do at the quarterback position, because I don't care how good Nathaniel Hackett may be as a play caller. We've seen him, breathe life into Blake Bortles' career, even if it was only for one season in 2017 when they made that magical run to the AFC Championship game. Still, he needs a quarterback. So I think that's the first order of business for the Broncos this offseason, is to get a signal caller, whether it be a veteran or a rookie, and then Nathaniel Hackett then has to get to work. They have all the pieces they need from the skill positions in terms of receivers, tight ends, and running backs. It's all about the quarterback position. If they get that guy, maybe Nathaniel Hackett can be more successful than his predecessors in Denver. The Minnesota Vikings, and this was one of the newer hires that we haven't mentioned. Kevin O'Connell, former Washington football team offensive coordinator, a guy that we had fond memories and feelings for. Didn't want him to go when they cleaned house after the 19 season. Really wanted him to stick around. I didn't necessarily want him to become the head coach, but I did want him to remain the offensive coordinator. He did interview for that job. He did not get it, whether it wasn't offered to him or he didn't want it. I think he wanted it. They decided to go in a different direction. Ron Rivera decided to go with Scott Turner. Kevin O'Connell moved on, went to LA with Sean McVay, and now has parlayed that into a head coaching gig with the Minnesota Vikings. That's another name that I think some people were bounding about. Kirk Cousins. What were the Vikings going to do with him? I'd venture to say that Kevin O'Connell isn't going to make any moves or isn't going to push for the organization to make any moves with Kirk Cousins just yet. Remember, O'Connell was here with Kirk Cousins, if I'm not mistaken. I think they overlapped in Washington. I think, don't quote me on that. I think they overlapped in Washington for a year or two. Thus, I think he's comfortable with Kirk Cousins, knows what he's about. I don't think they're going to make a move, so I don't think Kirk Cousins will be available this offseason either. Again, so the Vikings are taking the approach essentially of we've had a defensive-minded guy for this entire time. We got all these offensive weapons, whether it's Dalvin Cook, Irv Smith Jr., Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. We got all these weapons, and now we need someone to take this team to the next level, not be conservative, but go for the jugular. And so that's what they're hoping Kevin O'Connell will bring to them. They go from one end of the spectrum, which was defensive-minded, conservative, close to the vest, to now, offensive-minded, be more aggressive. And we'll see if that works out for the Vikings or not. So Kevin O'Connell gets an opportunity, yet another Shanahan disciple getting a job in the NFL. That Shanahan tree starting to look very, very fruitful, if I may say so myself. The New York Giants, we talked about this one already. Brian Daboll coming over from Buffalo as their offensive coordinator, the mastermind behind Josh Allen's play and that offense and what they were calling and really propelling Josh Allen to superstardom. And so they're hoping he can do the same for Daniel Jones. If not Jones, then someone else. But I actually like the hire of Brian Daboll in New York, especially if you're going to try to make Daniel Jones work, which it seems like they're going to try and do. I think if anyone can get the most out of him, it'll be Brian Daboll. We'll see if he's able to do that or now. I actually kind of like the staff that they're putting together in New York, but again, we'll see what happens for the Giants. The Bears, Matt Eberflus, Indianapolis Colts former defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus gets the job as the head man in Chicago. So the Bears, this is what they do. They kind of go on this roller coaster ride. They go from a defensive-minded guy to an offensive-minded guy. It's almost like the country, essentially. You get 8 years of a Democrat, and then everyone's like, okay, we can't do any more of this. We got to go to the other end of the spectrum, and that's how you end up with Donald Trump being your president. And then after that shit goes to hell in a handbasket, everyone's like, oh, we can't do that shit again. Now you got to go get you a Democrat. And then once this is over, they're going to go back and get them a Republican. That's how the country always seems to sway back and forth. That's kind of what the Bears are doing. Hey, let's get a defensive guy. We got a really good defense. Then that doesn't work. Okay, let's go get an offensive guy. The defense is good. Now we need offense. Go get the offensive guy. The offense still stinks. But the defense is good. Let's go get a defensive guy. Make the defense even better. And they're hoping that they can find a way to get the offense to be really good. I like Matt Eberflus. I like him as a defensive coordinator. We'll see if he is equally as good as a head coach, but I don't like pairing my young quarterback. You invested in Justin Fields. I don't want to have him playing, musical chairs with offensive coordinators, which is why if I've got a young quarterback similar to what the Jags did, I want an offensive-minded guy so that if it works out, if they make beautiful music, you don't have to worry about that coach going anywhere. Whereas if Justin Fields has some kind of synchronicity with the next offensive coordinator, he gets a job as a head coach. Now, I'm not saying you got to start over, because what we're seeing in the league is teams just take a guy that was underneath him, whether it's a quarterback's coach or some kind of, offensive assistant, and they just propel them to offensive coordinator to kind of keep that continuity going, similar to what Buffalo did. They took their quarterback's coach and they made him the offensive coordinator so that they could keep that continuity. I think that's smart, but it's also not the same voice, so we'll see. Anyway, Matt Eberflus is the guy in Chicago. We'll see if he can turn it around for the Bears. Dolphins hire Mike McDonald, who turned out to be the very first minority candidate hired during this cycle. When you see him, you're like, this guy's black? You sure about that? You know what it is, though. It's the one drop rule. If he's got one drop of black in him, 1%, he's black. So Mike McDonald, who doesn't necessarily look like he's biracial, is in fact biracial, which is why the 49ers are going to get an additional third-round compensatory pick. He's now the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And from all accounts, this guy is super impressive. He was the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers under Kyle Shanahan, as that Shanahan tree continues to sprout. And now he's getting an opportunity to be the guy in Miami. And I think what he probably went in there and sold the Dolphins on is, I can take Tua and turn him into a big-time NFL quarterback. And I think that's essentially what they're basing their decision off of is, can you take Tua and make him a formidable NFL quarterback? Because we know he's talented. Can you get the most out of him? We'll see if Mike McDonald can do that or not, but that's what he's going to be charged with. That's going to be the task at hand. Will he take advantage of this opportunity? That remains to be seen, but that's the guy they decided to go with. The New Orleans Saints did the thing that I thought they should do. Remember, Hoodie Jube also was here, in the comment section, and he talked about what he would do. And he said, I would just promote Dennis Allen and go about it that way and kind of promote from within and push guys up the rung. And that's exactly what the Saints did. I thought it was the right move by the Saints to keep Dennis Allen in-house, make him, because really the Saints are what they are at this point. The quarterback situation's a mess. They don't have a ton of skill guys that you love. Alvin Kamara just got into some trouble. We don't know the significance of that and how far reaching those consequences will be, nor the impact. But they're hurting offensively in New Orleans. But the defense is what's going to give them an opportunity. And the guy running that defense was Dennis Allen. So for me, if you want to keep the Saints competitive, you need to keep Dennis Allen in New Orleans, and that's essentially what they did. So kudos to them, because if they're going to win, and all of a sudden the NFC South is wide open. It's anybody's division now because the Buccaneers no longer have Tom Brady. The Panthers are a mess. The Falcons, I think it's crazy because when going into last season, the Falcons were probably the most unstable organization and team in that division. Now they're the most stable with Matt Ryan and company. I think they're the most stable team and have, a really good shot next year at winning that division if things fall into place for them. But the Saints are like, hey, don't forget about us. We still play top-notch defense. And if we can figure out anything at the quarterback position, get Michael Thomas back, have Alvin Kamara be healthy because he wasn't really last year, this team could be back in the mix. So we'll see what happens. And then finally, the Texans hire Lovie Smith. So word on the street is that the Texans really wanted to hire Josh McCown. Okay, they were blown away by him in the interview process. And that's the guy they truly wanted to go with. But because of blowback and the amount of negative press they would have received, them and the league, had he gotten the job over Brian Flores and Lovie Smith and, some of these minority candidates or people of color and have no experience, and he gets the job, it would have looked like white privilege. It would have looked like, oh, see, there's the NFL doing it again. So I think the Texans were scared away from their number one choice. And whether that's true or not, we'll see. Lovey's a retread. We know what Lovie Smith is as a coach. I told you this is the worst job in football right now, this Texans job. I wouldn't want this job. I knew Brian Flores wasn't going to get it. I think they were doing the NFL a solid by throwing his name out there as a finalist because, it makes the league look like they're not blackballing Brian Flores, but they're going to blackball him just like they did Colin Kaepernick. I think his NFL career might be over. It's hard to sue now. we've seen guys sue and get a job in the league again. Reed did it. The safety, Eric Reed, sued the NFL. He was on the Colin Kaepernick lawsuit and then ultimately got a job back in the league. So we've seen it. But remember, even after he got an opportunity, after that one opportunity was given to him, he was still playing at a relatively high level. He didn't get another opportunity thereafter. So to me, I look at this situation and I say, Lovey's, that was the best you could do, huh? Like Lovie Smith. But Lovey knew this was his only opportunity to get back in. Like he failed at Illinois, did Lovie Smith. He failed in Tampa Bay. The only success he's ever had was with the Bears. And that was eons ago. So I don't see this being successful. But then again, I don't know who could have gone into that situation in Houston and turned it around. I see that as a very messy situation for anyone. I hate to see a brother go down in a heap messing around with this Texans job. I would have much rather them giving Josh McCown the opportunity to go in there and turn it around. And if he fell flat on his face, we could have said, see, I told you so. Shouldn't have hired him. He never had any coaching experience. Now I love he's going to probably go in there, stink it up, get fired, and then they'll probably hire Josh McCown, who they wanted to hire in the first place. We'll see how it goes. But this Texans job is a mess. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to our next segment. So that is the coaching carousel in a nutshell. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 vacancies, all filled. And so now we have all 32 coaching seats filled. We'll see how things go in the upcoming season. And just one little caveat, during this hiring cycle, let's see. We lost one brother. We lost 2 brothers and we replaced it with 2 different brothers. So, and Mike McDonald is like a quarter of a brother. So still a brother nonetheless. Lovie Smith and Mike McDonald, 2 of the 9 candidates were minority. So you lose 2, you put 2 back in, brings the number of black head coaches back to 3, technically speaking. And minority, I think Ron Rivera, let me see, there may be one more in there. Ron Rivera definitely is a minority candidate. There aren't many, maybe 4 or 5 max. But yep, that's what it looks like. So let's transition to social media maneuvers. I'm a midday marauder. You know what it is. You guys have the opportunity to take over the show. So let's get to the comment section. And we start with Gunny Man, who writes, I got OBJ for MVP in the Super Bowl. That would be a fascinating storyline because just 3 months ago, we were told that this guy was washed. Hell, we did an episode of the podcast where we talked about what is his legacy, because he started out with a bang. We thought this guy had Hall of Fame written all over him. Now he was just an afterthought. He goes to the Browns. He flames out there, and he gets to the Rams, and he's got this renaissance now. And everyone's saying, see, told you it wasn't him. So we're going to see. Remember, this is a 1-year deal. So he'll be a free agent after this thing is over. And we'll see where he ends up, whether it's back in LA with the Rams or if he decides to test the market, go somewhere else. We'll see if he can't continue the momentum built in LA and really get his career back on track in a major way. So we'll see. That's a good pick for Super Bowl MVP. Rich says, I DM'd you on Twitter with my overtime idea. I saw it. I just didn't click on it because it was confusing. I already know I don't like it. And I didn't even read all of it. If you can't explain it to me and I get it, if you have to literally type it out for me to then make it make sense in my head, then that shit is too complicated. Overtime shouldn't be complicated. Okay. And then you had the audacity afterwards to say, yeah, I got it off of Madden. Shoot me, essentially, is what you said. I'm good. I'm good on that. Rich also says, Is it just me, or does this week in game just not feel Super Bowl-ish? I get that sense, but I think a lot of times when there's so much going on, it's so easy for the game to kind of get pushed on the back burner. I'm telling you right now, as we get closer and closer to the game, you'll start to feel it. But that week in between gives you a time to kind of, decompress a bit. And there was so much that happened between Washington getting a name and Tom Brady retiring, and so many things happened between the AFC and NFC championship games, and now us preparing, for the Super Bowl. So much has occurred in that space. Coaches have been hired, so many things have transpired and happened that it's hard to put the Super Bowl on the back burner, but that's what essentially has happened. Trust me, as we get to Friday and Saturday, you'll start to feel it. You'll start to feel it. But I'm with you. It doesn't, you're not really getting those vibes where you're just amped for the Super Bowl. But trust me, you will as you get closer. Gunny Man writes, one African American hire out of 9 during Black History Month. Gotta do better. So apparently he is not including Mike McDonald in that mix. And he says, Mike McDonald, ninja, please. Hey, look, man, if the man is some part Black, and me and my wife, we sat down and we tried to figure this out. So what we think it is his parents, like his dad might be, or mom, whoever, might be half Black, half white. Like, I don't think one of his parents is just Black, mom or dad. I think one of them is biracial, which then makes him biracial, if you get where I'm going. So either way, we term him a minority hire, okay? So it's 2. Let's see. Gunny Man says, Lovie Smith backdoor cover. That's it. It's funny you say that, because that's exactly what it feels like. Like, I felt like the Lovie Smith hire was literally because the Texans stink and they're gonna stink, and it's almost like they took one for the team and they made a sacrifice for the rest of the league. League was under fire for not having more minority candidates, and obviously there's a lawsuit on the table right now, and so to save face, they needed one of their 32 teams to take a bullet for the rest of the league. And the Texans are the perfect team because they stink. They're not going to be good next year. They're not going to be good for the foreseeable future. So they all kind of got together and said, hey, look, Houston, we know this isn't ideal. You want to hire Josh McCown. We get it. But you can't hire Josh McCown. How does that look with the situation we got going on right now? We need you to hire a brother. It was like, but it can't be Flores. We only got one other dude we can hire, and that's Lovie Smith. Okay, well, hire Lovie Smith then. But we don't want to hire Lovie Smith. Okay. That's kind of how it felt. You know what I mean? Like, they threw him out there as their token one Black hire. Again, 2 coaches of color were hired between McDonald and Lovie Smith, but Lovie Smith is the one true, fully Black coach that was hired, and it kind of felt like all right, we're doing this just to save face, just to meet our quota, if you will. Gunny Man says, let Ron go 6-11, 7-10. Hello, Brian Flores. Hey, you can dream all you want, but Flores, I don't see Brian Flores getting a job anytime soon. I'm not saying that he's done in the NFL, because all it takes is one organization to say, I don't really give a shit what happened in the past. I just think this guy's awesome and I want to give him an opportunity. But right now, the kitchen's hot. The block is hot. The block is hot. The block is hot. The block is hot right now. I just don't see him getting a gig while he's suing the league. Mike Lowry says, sidebar, your Memphis Grizzlies looking like a contender. I told you them young boys, I love watching a young team come together. Like my Braves did it when they were the baby Braves, when they showed up to the party a year or two early. And remember, I told you we weren't supposed to be in the playoffs. First of all, we weren't supposed to be in a play-in game 2 years ago. Last year, we had to go on the road and beat the Warriors to get into the playoffs. We weren't supposed to do that last year. Nobody gave us a chance to do that, but yet we did. And so we got in there. We got mopped by the Jazz, but we won a game. We didn't get swept. And so now we got the experience. Ja's a superstar. We surrounded him with great role players. They're having fun. They love playing with each other. They're all young and vibrant and energetic. Yeah, we're going to be a problem. I don't think we have enough experience to beat, say, Phoenix or the Warriors, who now with Clay back, they look like they're ready to start playing that kind of championship ball that we know they're capable of. But we'll be right in that mix. Like, I'm not afraid of any other team in the West, honestly. And and this is why I have hope for Washington, even though these sports are very different. This is why I have hope, because Ja Morant literally turned the Memphis Grizzlies around. Ronald Acuna Jr. literally helped turn the Braves around. If you get that one transcendent star, you have a chance to turn it around. That's what I'm hoping for Washington, because we're a young team. We got a lot of young players. We just need that one quarterback to come in and change the game for us. I don't know when that's going to happen, if it's going to happen, but that's the hope. But yes, my Grizzlies right now are definitely looking like a contender, and I couldn't be more proud. I'm like a proud papa whose only son finally made it. I'm over here smiling. Every night we go out and we destroy a lower level team, or we go out and we beat one of the upper echelon teams. I just smile because these boys, they get it. And we're doing all of this without Dylan Brooks. Anyway. Let's see. Got a super chat here. This one is from Jeremiah Butler. Is his name Mike McDaniel? I keep calling him McDonald. Is it not McDonald? I might be having my people mixed up. Let me check just to make sure. I've been calling this man McDonald the whole show. I think you guys are right. I think it is McDaniel. Yeah, Mike McDaniel. Yikes. I apologize. Look, you're a brother. I need to get your name right. I apologize, Mike McDaniel. Thank you guys out there for correcting me. Mike McDaniel, not McDonald. Jeremiah Butler, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Goodell, Houston, we have a problem. That's exactly what he said. Hey, Houston, we have a problem, but you guys can solve it for us. Okay, got to take one for the team. And that's exactly what the Texans did. Nick Caps, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Nick, writes, enjoyed the season. Looking forward to next year season with the man, Louie T. I appreciate you, Nick Caps. Thank you for the support and the time and the energy and all of the resources that you've poured into the Louie T Network. And anybody out there that has continued to pour resources, whether it be time, energy, finances, whatever the case may be, I can't thank you guys enough. So thank you, Nick. And I look forward to chopping it up with you in the future as well. Kyle, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Lou, Stafford going to steal some souls this Sunday. It's possible. Like I said, he's continuing to rewrite the narrative, right? The Matthew Stafford narrative. He's not good enough. Like, there are people that still don't trust. Like Condo P continues to say, I still don't trust Matthew Stafford. My wife is like, I still don't trust Matthew Stafford in the Los Angeles Rams. There are a lot of people out there that still don't think number 9, and not the 9 in black and orange, but the 9 in blue and yellow can't get it done. And so I'm interested to see if he can, for once and all, shut up all of the naysayers and the detractors and the people that don't think he's capable of leading a team. This is exactly why they gave up 2 first-round picks to be in this exact position Now he's gotten them there, but it's not good enough to get there. The Rams have been here before with Sean McVay. They've been to a Super Bowl. They scored 3 points the last time they got to a Super Bowl. He's got to win them a Super Bowl to make all of this worth it. So we'll see if Matthew Stafford can complete the cycle. We'll see what happens for sure. Let's get back to the comment section. We'll take a few more comments and we will get out of here. Nick Caps asks, the name of the player charged with vehicular manslaughter, DeShazer Everett. That's who you're thinking of. Bob Esther writes, Jonathan Allen is getting flamed for saying that he would like to have dinner with Hitler. I mean, I saw the list. So he was essentially doing a Q&A with everybody on social. He's like, yo, ask me anything. Someone asked him the question, who would you like to have dinner with, dead or alive? And he named 3 people. And he said his granddad, Hitler, and it was Michael Jackson. Those were the 3 that he named. And yeah, he was getting flamed for it. And, but that's the society that we live in. Look, he's not saying that he supports Hitler or he condoned anything that Hitler did. He just wanted to pick his brain. He just wanted to know, why did you do what you did? And how were you able to do what you did? Like, he probably just wanted to pick his brain. And because believe it or not, there are a lot of people that are fascinated with Hitler, not because they support nor condone what he did. They know he was a hideous individual. But you got to admit, Hitler there was one thing he was good at, and that was making people feel like he was one of those guys. He's not that dissimilar from Trump in the sense that he was good at brainwashing people. And it takes a special individual to be able to do things like that. And so all he was saying was, hey, you asked me who I would like to talk to. I'm telling you who I want to talk to. He didn't say anything derogatory. But that's where we are as a society. We live with this cancel culture, and if you say one thing wrong, it's over for you. And so he did come back and apologize. I didn't necessarily think he needed to apologize for anything. He didn't say anything crazy. You asked him a question, he gave you an answer, but it is what it is. Condo P says, don't know if I missed it, but have your feelings changed on Russ to DC given the Sheehan bombshell? Nope, haven't changed one iota. First of all, I don't think the Seahawks are trading him. So I don't really give it. I don't care what Russell Wilson is willing to do. The first thing that has to happen is the Seahawks have to be willing to move him. Then the second thing has to be Russell Wilson is willing to come to DC, which we now know is a possibility. Like, he's considering that. And then the third thing is Washington's got to be willing to give up more compensation than the other teams. And trust me, we wouldn't be the only team out there vying for his services. Just like we got beat out for Matthew Stafford, we would have to then ante up and give them whatever it is they want to get him. So it's 3, to me, it's trifold. It's a multi-layered process. And the first layer, you can't get to the second and third layer until you uncover the first layer. And for me, the Seahawks have zero reason to trade Russell Wilson. None. Because if they trade him, they become one of the worst teams in football. They have no incentive to trade this man. None. So, nothing's changed for me right now. Mike Lowry says they could have stayed with David Culley. They could have. I think they should have, but they didn't. So, it is what it is. I ain't mad because, like I said, David Culley is still getting paid. 1 year service, he's going to get $22 million. Good for him. I am not mad. Red Wings 01 writes, you hit the nail on the head about Ritter. Aside from his wonky mechanics, my biggest problem was how he never wowed me on either the stat sheet or the eye test. He always looked good, looked just okay / good. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a solid quarterback. There are plenty of them in the league, but if you're looking for a game changer, a guy that is going to absolutely take your team by storm and lead them into the future with dynamic play, he's not the guy you're looking for. And anybody that tries to sell me on the contrary, I'm listening, but the eye test, you know it when you see it. Like Malik Willis at least has that capability. Now, will it ever truly come to fruition? We don't know, but he's got a ridiculous arm. Okay, he's got a cannon for an arm. He's got tremendous athleticism, and you can see all of the tools there to get him to play at a high level and be a true difference maker in the league. He's just got to get in the right system and have the right players around him, and then we'll see what happens. And he's got to continue to mature and grow. But I don't see that with Desmond Ridder. All right. And for that matter, I don't see that with a lot of these quarterbacks in this year's draft class. So yeah. DeAndre Jackson says, thoughts on my Raiders bringing in McDaniels as head coach. I've already talked about it, but I think it's makes a ton of sense from the standpoint of wanting to retain Derek Carr, because Carr was like, look, the next coach that you hire is going to go a long way in me determining if I want to stay. They hire McDaniels. I think he now wants to stay. I don't love Josh McDaniels. I don't love him as a leader of men. But again, that was his first opportunity. This is another opportunity. We'll see what he does. But I'm not a big Josh McDaniels fan, but he's shown one thing, and I cannot deny this, even though I'm not a big fan of his. He's shown that he's a smart offensive mind. He's shown that, okay? Whether it was with Brady or without Brady. I thought he did a tremendous job with Cam Newton, when he was in New England, of putting together a game plan that gave Newton a chance. They just didn't have any talent. I thought he did a really good job with Mac Jones this past year. I thought he did a really good job with Jimmy Garoppolo when he was in there. Every time he's had to get a game plan together for another quarterback, I thought he's done a really good job. So I think he's a good offensive mind. My problem with him is I just don't think he's a leader of men. And guys know when you're faking it, or they know when you're not that guy, and I don't think he's that guy. So we'll see. All right. So Nick Cap says, comment on the player charged with vehicular manslaughter 2 times the speed limit. I don't have anything to say. I really don't. I don't know all the facts of the situation. It sounds like he was speeding. Was there a reason he was speeding? We don't know. I have no comment on that right now. It's anytime someone loses their life, it's a sad situation, and nobody wins. So we'll see what happens there. But sounds like DeShazer Everett is in a world of trouble, similar to Henry Ruggs. I think he's in some trouble here. So Rich says, I think you forgot about it. I'm not sure, but do you trust Mike Mayock as the draft expert? Now I don't. I haven't forgotten about it. I want to talk about it when there's nothing to talk about, because I feel like that's a topic that deserves its own space, like a gym dropping session, or some other point you talk about that and actually spend 10 minutes on it, because I think it's worthy of talking about that. I didn't forget. Rich says, I see the Tannehill comp for Ridder, but to me, I see Garoppolo. I don't see Garoppolo. His release isn't Jimmy Garoppolo lightning quick. They're not similar in their stature. Jimmy Garoppolo's a 6'2" quarterback. He's not long and lanky like Ridder. Ridder is 6'4", 215, which is what Tannehill was when he came in the league, and he looks just like Tannehill. He does not have a lightning quick release like Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what Jimmy Garoppolo's like. That's the thing that sets Garoppolo apart, is his release is ridiculously quick. That's not Desmond Ridder. Mike Lowry says, please tell me you've seen the video of Mike McDaniel calling Tua after he got the job. Cringe. No, I haven't seen it. Is it cringeworthy? I haven't seen it. Anyway. And just to add to that, I think Red Wings might be talking to Mike Lowry or Rich he is definitely more physically gifted. Like he can run. Like Jimmy Garoppolo can't run. Like he's a statue back there. Whereas Ritter is able to do some things with his legs. You know, when things break down, he's also a threat in the red zone to get into the end zone. So there are definitely some different things that Ritter brings to the table that Garoppolo just simply does not, which is why I don't think that's a good comp for Desmond Ritter. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to garbage time real quick. Garbage time. So I don't know if I'll be able to do a podcast. No, I know I'm not going to be able to do a podcast on Friday. I'm not going to be in the office the entire weekend, but I will be live from my parents' house for the Super Bowl. So I'll try to have a good setup there. After the Super Bowl is done, we'll be live, but I won't be in my office. That said, I might be able to do a podcast tomorrow, but I just want to get on the board with my prediction. I want to be able to tell you why I'm making the prediction, what the score is going to be, all of that. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do that. But if not, I got the Rams winning this Super Bowl. I think the story of the Bengals is cute. I think what they've done has been phenomenal to this point. No one saw this coming, but this is the Rams' time. McVay has paid his dues. He's been here before. I think he's going to do it differently this time around. I think Matthew Stafford is on a mission to prove the detractors and the doubters wrong. I think he's ready to change that narrative. I think it's also time. And honestly, the biggest reason that I think the Rams win this game is because I don't think that Bengals offensive line can stop the Rams pass rush. That's when it's all said and done. I think if the Titans can sack Joe Burrow 9 times, I'd like to think that the Rams are going to wreak havoc on Joe Burrow and force him into a mistake or two at some point in this game. And maybe that'll make the difference. But I've got the Rams winning this game. And hopefully I'll have an opportunity to tell you exactly why. So that's going to do it for me. Your man, Louie T. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me here on the 237th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. Again, if you're a Washington fan, I will see you tomorrow for the live show. If you are not a Washington fan, then you'll see me for the Super Bowl, more likely than not, on Sunday after the game has met its conclusion. We'll talk about the commercials. We'll talk about the game itself. We'll talk about everything under the sun. So I hope you'll join me for overtime after the Super Bowl is done. But if I have an opportunity, I'll try to come on live and do a podcast tomorrow that will supplement my Friday episode and give you my prediction for the game. So in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Until next time, I thank you guys for joining me on the way out. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. God bless. Good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.